sexual desire is rarely a matter of what you give. It is, more often than not, defined by what you withhold. Too many men make the fatal mistake of believing that generosity, constant attention, or unbroken presence will spark passion. They fail to understand that desire is not a transaction, it is an art. Machiavelli, the ultimate student of human behavior, would tell you that desire flourishes in mystery, in tension, and in the subtle orchestration of control. It is born in the space between presence and absence, curiosity and clarity, dominance and vulnerability. To awaken true sexual desire in a woman, you must move beyond surface-level gestures and enter the hidden corridors of her psyche, where emotions are formed before the conscious mind has a chance to name them. This is the silent power of attraction, a force that cannot be demanded, only carefully guided, felt, and awakened through an almost imperceptible dance of withholding and revelation. It is in this delicate balance of appearing available yet untouchable, attentive yet elusive, that the flames of desire ignite, not through the obvious, but through the unseen, unspoken, and deeply psychological currents beneath awareness. Machiavelli understood a fundamental truth about power. It is magnified through scarcity. The same principle governs sexual desire. A man who is constantly available, whose attention is effortless and unearned, quickly loses the magnetism that sparks longing. Predictability is the silent killer of excitement, and desire thrives only in tension, in the push and pull between presence and absence. To awaken genuine sexual desire in a woman, a man must learn the art of strategic absence. Disappear before she expects it, and let her feel the subtle void of your presence. This absence is not neglect, but a deliberate invitation for her to notice, reflect, and yearn. Limit your contact, text less, appear less frequently, yet ensure that every encounter leaves a mark, an impression that lingers because it is rare, intentional, and infused with value. Make your time feel precious, and let your presence feel conditional rather than guaranteed. When a man exists not out of convenience but on his own terms, he becomes far more desirable than one who is always at hand. Curiosity, that invisible aphrodisiac, begins to weave its subtle spell. She notices the cadence of your speech, the way you move through a room, the energy you carry. All details that were invisible when you were ordinary, accessible, and predictable. In scarcity, the mind sharpens, attention deepens, and desire grows in the spaces where absence leaves its unmistakable imprint. Desire is rarely sparked by mere physical attraction alone. Women, like all humans, are drawn to complexity, to layers they cannot immediately decipher, to emotional landscapes that resist easy understanding. Machiavelli long ago recognized that humans are moved by contradiction. The mind is irresistibly drawn to that which it cannot fully grasp, to puzzles it cannot solve. In the realm of sexual desire, this principle becomes a powerful tool. To harness it, a man must master the delicate push and pull of emotional contradiction. Engage her fully in conversation. Let your presence feel intense, attentive, and magnetic. But then withdraw subtly, creating space where she begins to notice the void your absence creates. Show warmth, interest, and genuine engagement, and then counterbalance it with subtle indifference, letting her wonder about your intentions, your desires, and even the depths of your mind. Desire flourishes in uncertainty. When the outcome is unclear, the mind chases, the heart leans in, and curiosity ignites. This is not cruelty. It is strategic tension, a carefully calibrated dance in which every word, every pause, every gesture carries weight beyond its immediate appearance. The emotional gaps you create, the unspoken spaces between attention and absence, between warmth and detachment, are the hidden chambers where desire grows, fertile with mystery, anticipation, and the intoxicating thrill of the unknown. Machiavelli recognized that human attraction is never purely about what is visible, tangible, or easily understood. People, women included, are magnetically drawn to what they cannot fully know, to the spaces that exist beyond comprehension. Mystery, in this sense, is not a gimmick or a trick. It is a weapon of subtle power, capable of igniting desire in ways overt attention never can. To awaken genuine sexual desire, a man must cultivate an aura of enigma, revealing himself only in carefully chosen fragments. Every word, every story, every detail shared should feel deliberate, like a breadcrumb leading her deeper into curiosity rather than satiating it. Oversharing, by contrast, is the silent killer of intrigue. It transforms fascination into familiarity, and fascination is the lifeblood of desire. Mystery also lives in the small, almost imperceptible gestures. A glance that lingers just a moment too long. A touch that brushes against expectation without fulfilling it. The subtle inflection in your tone when you speak. These are far more powerful than overt declarations or grandiose displays of affection. They hint at depth without revealing it. They suggest complexity without explanation, and they create a mental space where she begins to invest her imagination. Soon, she is no longer pursuing a man she thinks she knows. She is chasing the unknown he represents, the uncharted territory of his mind, the hidden currents of his intentions, the energy that surrounds him, yet never fully submits itself to interpretation. This is the essence of attraction, a magnetic tension between what is revealed and what remains hidden. The mind cannot resist filling in the blanks. The heart cannot resist seeking connection to what feels just beyond reach, and desire, once kindled in this space, becomes self-sustaining. The more you withhold, the more compelling you become, not because you are distant or cold, but because you are untouchable in your depth. Mystery transforms a man from someone merely present to someone unforgettable, someone who exists as both a reality and a puzzle. And it is in this carefully cultivated balance that sexual desire is awakened at its most powerful, insatiable, and lasting level. Sexual desire is born in tension, the delicate balance between proximity and restraint. Machiavelli would describe this as calculated restraint, the ability to give just enough to spark longing while withholding enough to deepen it. True mastery lies not in indulgence, but in subtlety, in knowing that desire thrives on anticipation rather than instant gratification. Flirtation becomes a tool of power when it teases without committing, when the slightest touch, the briefest compliment, or the smallest moment of intimacy carries more weight than hours of ordinary attention. These micro moments, carefully deployed, ignite a fire that cannot be fully controlled, compelling her to think of you long after the encounter ends. Equally important is the art of anticipation. Never satisfy curiosity too quickly. Delay the reveal of attention, pleasure, or intimacy in a way that allows her mind to wander, speculate, and invest emotionally. The mind, when left to linger in uncertainty, creates its own desire, a hunger far more potent than what could be manufactured through mere presence or immediate satisfaction. Let her earn access to your energy, your attention, and your time. The act of earning heightens value. What is easy to obtain is rarely desired, while what is earned becomes cherished, amplified, and addictive. Sexual desire reaches its peak not when a woman is simply gratified, but when she is engaged mentally and emotionally, when her imagination and feelings intertwine with your subtle cues. The dance of tension and release, of approach and withdrawal, of warmth and measured indifference, is the invisible architecture of longing. By mastering this calculated restraint, a man transforms ordinary interactions into a psychological symphony of desire, where every word, glance, and gesture becomes a note that resonates long after it is experienced. This is the intelligent harnessing of sexual tension, a power both subtle and unstoppable, capable of awakening a desire that is enduring, consuming, and deeply irresistible. Machiavelli's genius lay in his profound understanding of the human ego, and sexual desire is no exception to its influence. True attraction is cultivated when a woman feels admired, appreciated, and desired, not owned, controlled, or suffocated. A man who understands this distinction wields an invisible power. He can ignite longing without diminishing her sense of autonomy. Compliments, for example, are most potent when they are strategic. Focus on qualities that reflect depth, individuality, and character. Her intelligence, ambition, wit, or unique perspective, rather than offering shallow praise for mere physical appearance. Such recognition signals that you see her as complex, valuable, and rare, which deepens both respect and desire. Equally critical is the recognition of her independence. A woman's sense of self and autonomy must be honored if desire is to flourish. Men who celebrate boundaries, who acknowledge and respect her life outside of their interactions, evoke fascination and admiration far more effectively than those who attempt to dominate or possess. This is not detachment for its own sake. It is an intelligent awareness that admiration without control is magnetic, while attempts at possession breed resentment and disengagement. Finally, avoid the subtle poison of neediness. Desperation is the enemy of desire. It signals scarcity, uncertainty, and a lack of self-mastery. Sexual attraction flows naturally toward confidence, composure, and self-possession, not toward compliance, submission, or excessive accommodation. A man who projects assurance, who allows desire to arise in her rather than forcing it, leverages the ego in its most powerful form. By making her feel wanted rather than owned, he transforms admiration into longing and curiosity into obsession, a dynamic where desire is self-sustaining and impossible to satisfy fully, yet eternally compelling. True Machiavellian strategy operates in the realm of subtle control, a power that is invisible yet profoundly effective. Sexual desire is rarely awakened through force or overt effort. Instead, it is cultivated by crafting circumstances in which she feels she is choosing freely, even as every path leads subtly toward you. The genius of this approach lies in creating the illusion of autonomy. By carefully designing situations, experiences, and interactions that consistently highlight your value, you guide her attention and emotional investment without ever making her feel directed or manipulated. She believes she is making decisions, yet each choice strengthens her attraction, deepens her curiosity, and pulls her closer to the connection you are orchestrating. Framing interactions to elevate curiosity is key. Give her space to act, to respond, and to invest emotionally, but always ensure that the psychological momentum moves inexorably in your favor. Desire is not a force that can be pushed. It is a current that must be channeled, and the most potent channel is the perception of freedom. Appear unpredictable enough to intrigue, yet reliable enough to create a sense of subtle security. The tension between excitement and stability, between uncertainty and trust, is where desire thrives most powerfully. When a woman senses both the thrill of the unknown and the assurance of your presence, she becomes engaged on multiple levels, mentally, emotionally, and instinctively, without ever fully realizing that you have quietly guided her into that state. This is the masterful use of the illusion of choice, a psychological architecture of attraction where control is invisible, influence is effortless, and desire flourishes naturally within the framework you have designed. Machiavelli's lesson is unambiguous. Sexual desire is never earned through effort, flattery, or submission. It is not a prize won through pursuit or indulgence, but a force cultivated in the mind, teased in the heart, and awakened through strategy. The man who understands the art of attraction does not chase desire. He orchestrates it. By commanding absence, creating tension, maintaining mystery, and mastering the ego, both his own and hers, he shapes an invisible architecture of longing that draws her in without her conscious realization. Desire, in its most potent form, is psychological, not physical. It is the product of energy, intrigue, and carefully measured restraint. To awaken it, one must be deliberate, patient, and slightly unknowable, a figure who exists both near enough to provoke fascination and distant enough to maintain intrigue. Every glance, every word, every pause becomes a brushstroke in a larger portrait of attraction, painted with subtlety, intelligence, and precision. When applied with mastery, this approach transforms ordinary interactions into a magnet for desire, compelling women to feel emotions and yearnings they cannot fully articulate, let alone resist. This is the silent power of Machiavellian seduction, a force that moves beneath awareness, shaping longing and fascination with imperceptible mastery, leaving an indelible impression that lingers long after the encounter ends. In the end, the true art of seduction lies not in conquest, but in the invisible orchestration of desire itself.